Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I am Gary, your host, and this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. So this time, we're going to have a little look here at, from 1986, Blackthorn Publishing's Golden Features #3, featuring Jerry Igers' Girls. Oh, it's a great cover drawing, culled from one of the interior panels. As I said, this is from 1986. And one of the interesting things is, of course, this is reprint stuff from the Golden Age, from Jerry Iger, in Iger's workshop. That it has been just as long, about 40 years since this book was published, and it was about 40 years since the stories in here to the time of this reprint. So this book is as old now as the interior stories were at the time. That's just a funny little thing I like to think about sometimes. So, for those who may not be familiar, Jerry Iger, he was from 1903 to 1990, is an American cartoonist and art studio entrepreneur. He founded the Iger Eisner shop in the Golden Age with Will Eisner. This shop was a comic book packager producing comics for publishers. And he was born in New York City to Jewish Austrian immigrants and raised in Oklahoma. In 1925, back in New York, although he lacked formal art training, he became a news cartoonist for the New York American. And a decade later, he entered the fledgling comic book field. It was at 1925. He got work at I'm not sure if that's a newspaper or a news magazine. I'm not sure which. But either one, he was just 22 years old. Wow. With no formal training. Wow. He joined the comic book field, yeah. At Wow, What a Magazine, he met Eisner. Yeah, that's the title. Wow, What a Magazine. He met Will Eisner, where they both produced material. Together, they formed a business to produce new material when the reprint material, that is the existing newspaper comic strips, ran out, which happened relatively quickly because all these publishers were reprinting all this stuff from just a few decades of couple of decades of newspaper stories, comic strips. And together they formed a business to produce, I already said that. In the early 50s, Jerry Iger, he started the Phoenix Feature newspaper syndicate, distributing the comic strip Mickey Spillane's Mike Hammer, which did not last very long. And he's not as well known as his partner, Will Eisner, but they are both. I guess Iger was more into the business side and more of the into the writing and stuff, and Will Eisner was more into the art side. But they both did stuff. A lot of Golden Age comic artists worked for the Iger Eisner shop in the late 30s and 40s, including Jack Kirby. that was before, of course, Will Eisner parted ways, and he started the comic book section of a paper, which was also syndicated, featuring, of course, his best-known creation, The Spirit. So, let's take a look. This is all what was known as, at the time, good girl art. Because the ladies were especially lovely and a little bit on the sexy side. Especially long legs, etc. But as you can just see here, this is a lovely drawing of South Sea Girl. And I liked it so much, I made a copy. I drew a copy of my own. Okay, and here, inside, this I said Blackthorn. Here on the inside cover is Blackthorn Publishing presents The Iger Comic Kingdom, cover by Dave Stevens. This is trade paperback, 96 pages, square bound, trade paperback, featuring reprint material from Jerry Iger and his workshop. And a lot of these, just as with Will Eisner, a lot of this early stuff was done with pseudonyms to make it look like they were more creators than they had. So here is South Sea Girl, and this is where that cover drawing was. Of course, this is all black and white, but they were originally printed in color. And this is some lovely story. This is The Thirsty Blade, on an island in the South Seas, and there's what's her name, Alani? I think she is the ruler of this particular unusual island. And here is her friend Ted, who is an American. I think he's if I remember correctly, he's a journalist of some kind, and he's there doing research. So here on this other island, where there is a prison, and this prisoner is being whipped for his misconduct. But that very night, he and some others, they break out, killing some of the guards, and they get up and they're going to make their way to South Sea Girl's island. Meanwhile, South Sea Girl and Ted, Alani, yeah, that's her name, they're with the pearl divers. And Ted is going to try some pearl diving of his own, and they have to keep an eye out for sharks. Well, he is quickly being harassed by a shark. Because help, Alani, help! So she is the ruler, and she is really good at what she does. She dives in, and she takes out that shark with her knife, which would probably draw a bunch more sharks than they'd have to. Anyway, back on the island. Meanwhile, the escaped prisoners have stolen a ship, and they have landed on the other side of the island, and they start harassing the natives, who Alani is the ruler and protector of. And so they're capturing them as prisoners and stuff, and they snatch. But Alani and Ted get snatched, and they are tied up to posts by vines. You see, when they got snatched, Alani was showing Ted their sacred tree, the misto trees. And there's some unusual properties to this tree. And so they're tied up, and they have set up a guillotine. I don't know where they would have gotten the guillotine, because they're not just laying around everywhere. And they're going to take Ted and going to chop his head off. Well, this is where the misto tree vines come in, because a characteristic of these particular trees is that when the vines are separated from the tree, after just a short while, they start to dissolve. So, and that's what they tied them up with. So Alani is able to get loose, and she rushes to save Ted, because they're about to behead him. And the head criminal, he throws his knife, missing her, but it stops the blade, because the vine holding the blade, another from the misto tree, begins to dissolve a little bit, and he loses his grip. She manages to save it, so the knife, sheer coincidence, stops the descent of the blade. Well, if that blade had been moving with any momentum, that blade's not going to stop it. Anyway, as those blades are heavy. And she saves him. And meanwhile, the rest of the natives have broken free and are fighting the criminals. the head guy, he's going to go after Alani, and she is backed up against the guillotine, crawling through the. There's no lunette there either, but it doesn't matter. Crawls through it, and he stumbles, and he falls right in the path as the vine holding the blade dissolves more and falls down and whacks him real good. For good. I thought there was another page there. But that is the that is the end of him. And the island people are saved. The next story is Lucky Wings. That's what I want to say. It's a South Sea Girl, Lucky Wings, Madam Strange, and Phantoma. Okay, and here is lovely work, artwork. And this is under the name of Bob Webb down here, maybe, and by S.M. Reggie, which is Igers spelled backwards. And it states right here, this is during the war. It takes place during the war, after VE Day, but before VJ Day. So we're still in combat with in the Pacific against the Japanese. She is a journalist and a pilot, and she gets a special assignment, some special orders, and someone gives her a note. She's supposed to go see this. She's a fortune teller. An old lady, and she tells her fortune a little bit, and tells her says, Lucky, the crystal has told me your destination and warns of great danger. For this information, I ask that you return this ring to my brother in Nicobar, which is where she's going. And she's wondering, how did this lady know? But she takes the ring, and then she gets in the plane, and she flies to Nicobar. She's going undercover there for her, whatever her story is. Here we see some villainous people. Some Japanese spies are working on this island, and have some local bigwigs involved in that. Here, she is undercover as a torch singer at this bar, and people are suspicious of her. She's suspicious of these people, and this is where she sees these guys who are obviously Japanese spies. She follows it. Then she goes to see the old lady's brother to give him the ring, and poof, he is killed with a blow dart from some of the bad guys we have already seen. She snatches the ring back and takes off. They snatch her. They want the ring. Now there's something here that, because it was mentioned in the course of the story, that her purse has a tear in the lining. So when they saw her put the ring in the purse, they dump her purse out. There's no ring. They think it's some kind of magic. Yada yada yada. They take her, and she manages to kind of escape a little bit, and while working with the spies. And here we find out that. What the deal is, they have launching platforms here for what are basically buzz bombs, but these are supposed to be super buzz bombs, and they're going to be aimed clear across the Pacific at cities in America to take them out. But she's got to stop them, and then she realizes why the ring didn't fall out. So she's taken captive again. They got the natives there, and she produces the ring which had been hiding in the lining of her purse. Says that makes me your rightful ruler. They take all the bad guys prisoner, and turn over the Japanese spies to the authorities, and do whatever they want to with their own people who are working with him, which is not going to be good, you bet. Then she gives the ring back to the people, and she goes home. Then we have Madam Strange. She is more of a superhero type, by Ahmed Zudela. That's a sure fake name if I ever heard one. And she is kind of a superhero. And this takes place in Hawaii, still during the war. And she is being targeted for assassination as she walks down out of an alley, but they miss. She rushes up and tosses her knife, kills the gunman, but the other guy takes off, but she catches him ready to string him. So she's ruthless. I have no idea what her origin is. If it ever tells us, it doesn't tell us here. It's a beautifully rendered, as I said, good girl art. I mean, that's just such a lovely figure there, and the backgrounds, the scenery, everything is so well done here. And she follows, lets the guy go after getting some information. She says, no, and he won't last. But she finds out about Bonza, who is the head of a Japanese spy ring here, and he's working with some corrupt businessman on the island. This is on Hawaii, remember. And but she gets there, and he pulls a gun on her. She takes out another great figure there, and is going to chain him up when one of his goons stuns her with the flat of a blade, flat of a sword, and then here's another lovely figure, and they take her prisoner, but they don't realize how powerful he is. Well, there's no one there. Well, he goes to see some others in his ring. They rig up a truck to smash into the prison, releasing some more of their spy ring. Meanwhile, she is busted out of the bar, so she has superhuman strength. Grabs a car and rushes into the middle of the fray. They're having had planned it. She heard about bombs at the pier, and there they are. Bombs starting to go off. There's the chief of police. She whacks out some of the spies there, and others are taken off in the car. She gets into seaplane and bombs the crap right out of them. And then the corrupt businessman is taken prisoner, and everything is fine again. And here we finish up with Fatoma, Mystery Woman of the Jungle by W.B. Hovius. Yeah, and this is still all some really great artwork. This story is rather Jungle Comics #1 reprint of the Fiction House classic. And I never got those. And the story in this is very disjointed, but it's still some great reading. She is some kind of mystical jungle girl, and she and her panther friend Fury going through the jungle. They meet a boy who says, "My parents were killed in the jungle. I'm starving. Don't try to stop me," because she stops him when he was about to shoot a deer, and she says it's not necessary. But we're to think her panther Fury is about to pounce on him, but no. This leopard up in the trees was about to pounce on him, and Fury stops and destroys that leopard. And this is interesting with the head dangling down into the lower panel. So she takes the boy, feeds him, is going to take him somewhere safe. Meanwhile, and I think he's just become a sidekick, and they accidentally disturb a water buffalo who are very grumpy. They are very dangerous. The Cape buffalo are one of the most dangerous animals on the African continent, and he goes to attack them. And even the cat Fury is thrown for a loop. They're running. The boy falls, but Fury pounces on the beast and destroys it, saving them. Then going on farther, they see some tribesmen sacrificing of another tribesman to crocodiles in the river. So they go into the village and sees the wife of the man who was just killed. As I said, it's totally disjointed. She chastises these crocodile people. They snatch her, and they're going to throw them to the crocodiles. But this is when the mystical part, where they throw her and the boy to the crocodiles, and they land on ice. She had mystically enchanted the river water, turning it to solid ice, and she and the boy get away. The villagers rushing across the ice to get them, and she mystically thaws it out, and they fall into the water and are gobbled up by all the crocodiles. It says, their own cruelty and greed caused their destruction. Phantoma finds new adventures in next Jungle Comics. And then here we have another ad for the reprint of the very first Jumbo Comics, for Jumbo Comics #1. A 72-page square-bound trade paperback with full-color covers. Oh, wow, that sounds good. And I never got any of those. But that was fun. I enjoyed all of that. It took me longer than I had anticipated. But let me know what you think of Jerry Igers' Girls in the comments below. So like, share, and subscribe. And remember, comics are art.